All right, welcome in. It is Thursday night. I am absolutely excited. I'm a little sad that Daniel isn't here, especially with the guests that we have, but nonetheless, we are finally doing ECU and not just ECU, but Parker Byrd. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Just blessed to be on here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna give you a shout out, like right off the top. Like your computer screen is, I don't know what kind of computer you got, but man, usually it's not that clean. It's crispy, man, and then you got the hair done. Hey, we good.
That's
You
right. It's that
setting the
MacBook. Shout out
bar.
the MacBook. Yeah.
But man, we got to break the ice before we get into your story. I was just talking to you a minute ago. Obviously, man, the talk of the sports world right now. Well, for my world, it's college baseball starts next week, and that's your world too. But universally, it's the Super Bowl, right? And it's Sunday. And so I got to ask you before we get into the football on the field, I find that the most important thing about Sunday is the food. And for you, what is the go-to food that has to be at a Super Bowl party?
Wings, man. Pizza and wings. My family has a long tradition of watching the Super Bowl together, and we've always been repping some wings and pizza there. So, yeah, I feel it feels wrong if it's not there. So,
You like
uh,
them wet or you like them dry?
uh, either or. To be honest, I mean, I'm not too picky at all.
I'll tell you, I used to be a sauce guy more until I started going to Blue Chicken Store. Josh Pearson's dad, Bill Pearson, turned me onto it a couple years ago, and I've never looked back. They're dry rub, and every time I go down to the box, we get a box of them. We call them crack wings because you can't have like just like three or four, right? You got to have double digits, and
Right.
like you don't know
That's
how to
right.
put them down and stop.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. But yeah, I'm a big barbecue guy, but I mean, either or is fine.
Yeah, no doubt. Can't go wrong. Like you said, wings and pizza. As a matter of fact, I told you I just got home. My wife's got pizza in there waiting. As soon as this episode's over, I'm fixing to
Yeah,
crash
I
and
hear
make some.
that. I hear that.
All right, so we got to talk about the game itself, man. Who you got to win it?
I'm gonna go with Niners. I'm a big Chris McCaffrey fan. He was a Carolina boy for a little bit, but yeah, just I've been rooting for CMC for a while, and Purdy always has a great story. So I'm kind of rooting for those guys. Plus, it always helps whenever my cousin and uncles are big Chiefs fans, and they are very obnoxious about it. So it's easy to pull against them whenever you have them and Taylor Swift on their side. So
Yeah, no, well, when you talk about CMC, right? Obviously a high draft pick, and then everybody's fantasy running back, right? But I think honestly, like he's somebody that he's had to overcome a lot of different things, injuries being one of them, right? Because he was a smaller running back. Let's call it what it is. Like white running backs just don't
yeah,
don't last in football.
not
So
at all.
I think he's overcame a lot of adversity just getting past that stigma. And so when you put him and Brock Purdy together, I mean, you got two really good stories that if they're able to get it done, but more so, forgetting the Taylor Swift and the Kelsey stuff, whatever, like I just get tired of seeing the same team win, right? Like it was
Yeah.
like when the Warriors went on their run in basketball, like I just don't want to see it no more.
Yeah, exactly. I was a big Patriots fan. Well, not big Patriots. I like Tom Brady whenever he was winning, but once again, that went back to my uncle and cousins being Chiefs fans, and they the more and more Tom won, the more and more they hated him. So, it was just fun to be competitive like that. But I like winners, but I mean, it is good to mix it up. That's like the World Series last year. Nobody, I think the TV views were down, but I
Mhm.
loved it. I mean, you got the Rangers and D-backs. I mean, you don't see that too often at all.
Yeah, now
So
that's what I said as soon as they knocked off the Dodgers. I was like, that just killed the ratings. Now, like you said, I don't care about seeing the Dodgers, but obviously a massive market. So yeah, when you lose teams like that, but I'm all for it. I will say this about Kansas City though. I feel good about myself when I go to the baseball games that are like in 35-degree weather with some wind, and I feel proud. Like I'm out there supporting and doing. These folks go in negative 30, like, bro, like I don't love
uh,
any team that much.
not at all. I mean, them and Buffalo, man, their fan base is just
Think about
absolutely
how much they pay to be cold too, Parker. They're
oh, I
paying like a
know.
G to sit there and freeze.
Eas- Easily. I mean, they definitely stick it out. It's crazy to see those guys. I mean, Kansas City's pretty cold. I mean, were they playing like -20s the other day, like to feel
Yeah.
like a couple weeks ago, and
I ain't
then
about that life. I'm good.
yeah, and then Buffalo had people out there shoveling snow out so they can even play a game. So shout out to them for having fan bases like that. But
Did you happen to see I talked to Tony V in our interview a couple nights ago. Did you happen to see the videos going around of Tennessee baseball playing their game in the snow?
I have not, no.
Oh yeah, man, there's a quarterback battle, Drew Beam against Blake Burke and AJ Russell. And I asked coach, I mean, I'm surprised you let them play because I'd be cringing at the thought of an injury. And you know him, he tries to let his guys be his guys, but he said nobody was touching Drew at quarterback. But then he kind of after he lifted him up, he slammed him back down by saying all those guys should stick to baseball and never touch a football again. I was like, ooh.
That's funny. That's funny. You gotta keep him humble.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of the Super Bowl, commercials are always a huge deal, man. Everybody looks forward to the commercials, and man, you get the privilege of being a part of that this year. Talk to us about the Challenge Athletes Foundation, and I don't want to do too much spoiler for everybody. We want them to see it, but man, tell them about the 1 minute spot y'all running.
I mean, it's special, dude. Challenge Athletes Foundation has been a huge role in my recovery and rehab. I mean, they provided me a grant to get a prostate. They've done a lot for many other amputees and people with limb differentials. And I mean, there's a great company or a great foundation that just provides stuff for athletes to get back onto the field, try new sports out. And so it's special that I can give back to those guys for I mean, a bunch of stuff they've given me and my family and a bunch of other kids and adults around the nation.
So when you got asked to do that, and I don't know if you're like me. I mean, I think about the Super Bowl as like, there are people that watch just for those. And like, so when you get asked to do something like that, like, I mean, you're obviously excited for the organization, but you get to be a part of something that, the average person may not even care about football, but they'll see your commercial.
Yeah, it's actually crazy because whenever I got the news, I think I got it probably around a month ago. The owner of Challenge Athletes Foundation, his name's Bob Babbitt. He's a co-founder, and he reached out and told me that he had bought one and about bought a commercial for me, and that basically everything they're going to do. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool because I mean, obviously Super Bowl. I've been watching Super Bowl ever since I was born, and it's almost like a holiday in my family. So I was like, man, that's pretty cool, but I didn't realize how cool it really was until like you have the average person that does not watch too much football at all, and they're absolutely freaking out that you're going to be in a Super Bowl commercial, and you're like, you even watch football, and they're like, no, but I love the Super Bowl commercials, and you're like, you know what, this is more than just football. Like it's everybody watches this for commercials and obviously football, but I mean it's just the fan attendance for that's definitely a lot higher than.
I'll give you a perfect example. My wife is hit or miss on not even just sports, but if she's going to listen to my podcast. And so there's a chance, Parker, that by Sunday, more than likely, she's not going to have watched this. And then she's going to see your ad. And what she'll do is she'll actually probably look over me and be like, you should interview him. And I'll be like, really? I'm going to look into that. I'm telling you, it could happen. We've had stuff like that happen. There's a possibility. So
That's great.
I'll just let it slide too. I won't even say nothing. But you know what,
Hey,
man?
you gotta pick and choose your arguments at this point, right?
Exactly. But let's get into it, man. This show is all about getting your story. Where are you from?
I'm from a little place called Laurinburg, North Carolina. So it's the southeast part of North Carolina. Next county below is South Carolina. I was actually originally born in Columbia, South Carolina, but only lived there for about a year and a half, and then moved back home to Laurinburg. Both my parents are from there, so they
I can
returned.
actually relate to what you're talking about, though. I live right now. I live in South Haven, Mississippi. It takes me 3 minutes to get into Tennessee, and I'm from
Yeah,
Memphis. And so
yeah,
you probably have that same thing as me. Like you kind of claim both states because I mean you can just be one or the other.
that's right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the guys back home, just like everybody, if they need gas and they have a little extra time, they go down to South Carolina because gas is cheaper. So, I mean, it's definitely cool. You know when you get to South Carolina because the roads get a little bit more bumpy.
Yeah,
So,
I'm glad you can understand that that's actually one of the weirdest things. You can drive across the state line and it's from Tennessee coming to Mississippi. It's like 30 cents cheaper and you could literally just be like 3 miles away. And it's like the
I know,
wildest
yeah,
thing.
it's crazy. And people are like, yeah, I've never been to a different state, and I'm like, I can get to a different state in 5 minutes.
So, being from North Carolina, I got to ask you because, we've had a lot of guys from all over North Carolina. I feel like there's not a bad spot. I feel like that state is just amazing, whether the mountains, the beach, or anywhere else in between. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. I think it's probably the best state out there. I mean, it's probably a little biased, but I mean, we really have it all. And I mean, you can go out to Cali, but you're gonna have to drive a ways to get to either side. And you can get to in North
You
Carolina.
pay a lot of money to live there. I know.
Yeah, that's right. And a maximum of 5 hours to get anywhere in North Carolina, and that's the max to get to coast. So, yeah, we have the beach, mountains, and then all the small town countries in between. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, I found that out because I was planning out my schedule and, I'm going to go from Columbia because you brought that up, South Carolina to go to Wake, and it's just a 4 hour drive. But even looking
Yeah,
at Wake, talking about ECU or NC State, it's just like bang, bang,
right
bang,
there.
bang. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. I think we're Wake is probably about 2 hours from us, and then NC State's only an hour and a half. I mean, all the central of the state's all relatively 2 hours, so it's pretty.
So
And
if you're a
that's
college baseball fan, just move to North Carolina.
hey,
Simple.
that's what many people are doing now. They're big sports fans because I mean the Carolinas have it all, especially baseball. So
Yeah, just the worst team in the NFL, but we'll ignore that part, right?
hey, I'm not a Carolina fan, so it's all right. I'm probably the second
I had
worst.
to throw shade. I'm a Saints fan, so they're in our division. I got to.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm a Commanders fan, so probably the second worst team in the NFL.
Well, this wasn't going to be part of our show, but I got to ask, man, how much does it bother you saying Commanders?
I have to every podcast or anything I'm on, I always have to say Commanders, but in real life, I don't say Commanders.
I feel you. I feel you. All right, so let's get into family dynamics, man. I've actually seen because of obviously your story, the amount of support you got, but man, just talk about your family. How many members, who all living in the house?
Yeah, so I have my mom and my dad. They're both from Laurinburg, like I said earlier. My mom is a nurse and my dad's a pediatrician, but my mom is a stay-at-home mom now. And I have two younger sisters. Grayson, who is a senior in high school. She is actually coming to East Carolina next year, so that's pretty cool. She's 17, about to be 18. And then I have Brindley, who's my 11-year-old sister that's in sixth grade now, which is kind of crazy to believe, and she's about to turn 12, I guess. So
So how
yeah,
much did you enjoy being, the big brother that got to provide the example for your little sisters? Because I mean, that's a great spot to be in.
yeah,
Some people take it for granted, maybe don't realize it later in life. A lot of people realize it in real time and understand. I have a role to play here. I'm supposed to set the example.
right. Yeah, it's cool because I mean I have a pretty unique relationship with both of my sisters. I mean, but they're both my best friends. But Grayson, who's the 17-year-old, she's really like I feel like she's really more my sister, and like she's my best friend, and she's really there through it all. And then Brindley, who's the 11-year-old, I feel like she's my kid at times because I've actually watched her grow up, and but I mean, she's my best friend as well, and I mean, they're both really, really close. We're all really close, and it's really cool watching them grow up, and just me being a role model to them. It's pretty cool, and the fact that they love to keep me humble no matter what, and that's just kind of the relationship we have. And I mean, they're amazing. So
Yeah, no, and you could tell that's one of we used to be just an audio podcast for like the first 4 or 5 seasons. And I'm
right,
glad we went to video because seeing you light up talk about them, you can't fake that, right? Like
right,
that the literal joy you have in your face talking about them. So it's cool. It really, showcases the relationship you have. And I'll tell you, as someone who has a sister that's 8 years older than me, that's never gonna go away, man. Like, I'm fixing to be 40 this year, she's 48, and we're still, like this. Like
and
it just doesn't you tease them and you call them
that's
when you need
right,
them. Like
that's
all that
right.
stuff still
Yeah,
pertains.
my little sister just got her first boyfriend. So whenever that happened, I about shed a tear, and I'm not a crier at all. And I was like, dang, this is crazy. Like she's grown up so fast. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, the boyfriend stage is always my daughter's 17, and so yeah, I don't know if I shed a tear if I start working out more. You can go one way or the other. Um, but no, definitely. So let's get to baseball, man. Some guys, they start as soon as they can walk. Some a little bit later in life. For you, what was it?
I mean, as soon as I walked, or really before that, I mean, my dad grew up playing baseball, but he didn't really force the sport on me. But one of my first toys was this little, I guess it was a spinny thing, and it had a ball in the end, and I'd sit there and just hit the ball over and over. And so before I could really even walk, I was loved baseball. And as soon as I got up and moving, I mean, as a kid, I waited for my dad to get home from work every day, and As soon as he got home at 5, I was asking him to go to the cages or the field. And I think we started off like hitting in the backyard the short way. And then once I started hitting over the fence there, we went the long way. And then once I hit it into the pool, which was the end of the long way, my dad's like, all right, it's time to go to the field. So after that, I loved it. As when I was a kid, I would wear a uniform to the field each and every day. And whatever uniform and player I was, I had to play that position. And before I took the field, I had to play the national anthem and go through the whole routine. So I was in it and I loved it. I was a big Brian McCann fan, so I was a big catcher at the age of 2 years old.
And that's right where I was going to ask you next was, who did you look up to? That's interesting. The first thing that always stuck off to me is you know, that group of catchers, that team, they used to not wear batting gloves. It always threw me off, man. Because
Yeah,
the guy who
him,
does it,
Evan Gaddis.
yeah, like, but Brian didn't a lot of times either. Like, and I used to always think, like, what's I get it. Okay, y'all are men, like y'all are gripping that wood bat. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, it does. As a baseball player with using metal bats, I use wood a good bit, but I'm a big bat and gloves guy, and I have a lot of respect. And not only that, they would tore that bat up too. They'd put a bunch of pine tar on it and grab it like it's nothing. I'm like, that's crazy right there.
Yeah, no, just I wasn't a big baseball player. I played, slow pitch softball, and I'll just tell you, just from hitting slow pitch softballs, I forgot my batting gloves before. And yeah, that man, I don't know how those guys do
And
it. It
not only that, it's a comfort thing too. Whenever I don't have my BGs on, I feel like I'm naked, and I feel like it's weird.
Yeah, no doubt. So obviously you come up, it's a big deal for you from the time you can walk. Clearly you're successful at an early age. You got your dad, coaching you up. You got guys that you're looking to on TV. Obviously travel ball's got to become a thing because in order to get to an elite level like you're at, travel ball just has to be. So,
Yeah.
who did you play for?
So towards the end, my high school days, I played with South Charlotte Panthers. There's an organization out of Charlotte. They are tremendous. But growing up, I started out playing with a local team back home, just with some local guys that I actually ended up playing high school ball with. And then when I was about 10, 11 years old, it was time for me to branch off from those guys, and I went to other organizations. But I stayed with the same like group of guys, but we just changed organizations. But from 8th grade on, I was with South Charlotte Panthers, and they played a tremendous role in my development and recruitment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, in order to get to the level you're at, it's a have to nowadays. And
Right.
so, what I'm curious about, travel ball in the area I'm in, like you have to, in Mississippi, a lot of teams, are going to Florida, they're going to Georgia to get a part of tournaments. With you being in North Carolina and there being so much talent, is it one of those things that you don't have to leave the state as much, or are you still doing the same thing that the guys here are doing and you're hitting up Florida, hitting up East Cobb and Georgia, all that?
Yeah, I would say a little bit of both. I would say that your local tournaments would have a lot more competition than if you would go to another state, minus I guess Florida and Georgia and all those places. But there's still the big tournaments are in Georgia and Florida, and I guess now in Hoover, Alabama, and so those places you'd still go to a lot. But I would say your local tournaments definitely you were blessed with a lot more talent, and you'd see dudes all the time. And like we played Kansas National, which is the
Right.
big the big travel ball organization. We played them in local tournaments all the time, just getting ready for Jupiter, which is in Florida, and just some big tournaments. So it's pretty cool just seeing dudes all the time.
Yeah, I think y'all got some kind of beef with the Canes in North Carolina because recent guests from North Carolina talking about travel ball brought them up too. Dalen Thompson from Campbell. Anyway,
Yeah.
the Canes must be who y'all put a target on around there.
Well, I would say, for sure. It's just with South Charlotte, we're a very local team, and we pull guys from the Carolinas, mainly. And we're a really close knit group of guys that work really hard. And I'm not saying no other organization worked hard, but it was definitely very aggravating whenever you would, and this is true story, but you were playing an organization such as the Canes or another organization, and you're playing like their B team, which is still pretty freaking good, and their A team lost out in the tournament, and then all of a sudden you see all these pitchers from the other team
Mhm.
transported to their dugout, and you're like, don't think this is just fair just for those guys just to bounce around
Right.
teams. But I mean, found a way to win, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that, when it comes in and my daughter plays club soccer, and I like her coach's mentality. He always plays them up in tournaments and never plays them on even competition or down. And it's not about stacking, same thing with travel, about stacking rings on the
Right.
weekend or whatever. It's about getting better. And
Yeah. I mean,
ultimately, if that's losses to get there, then so be it. But it's not about collecting hardware.
yeah, I mean, I think that development with travel ball is key because I mean, ultimately, you're not just going to be a travel ball player. You're going to go to a next level and compete. So, I mean, the Canes did a great job of producing guys, but they get the top tier talent. So those guys are going places no matter what. So, but I mean, a lot of respect to those guys. I mean, I played them a lot. They're very classy, and but yeah, I love my South Charlotte days for sure.
No doubt. So let's talk about high school. Where'd you go to high school at?
I went to high school at Scotland High School. It was I guess my all the way up to my junior year, we were 4A, which is the biggest in North Carolina, and then my senior year, we went down to 3A. But I was very loyal to really everything I ever do in life. But I just stuck it out at the same high school, and I mean, there's a bunch of local boys. I didn't have big recruits or anything. I think I was really the only recruit we had on my high school team, but we played together so well that I mean we won conference my senior year and made a pretty good run my junior year. But I really those were probably the most fun I've ever had playing baseball.
Well,
So
that's what it's really. I mean, almost all the sports are like that now. The high school is supposed to be just, obviously you're trying hard, it's serious, you want to win, but from a
yeah,
talent standpoint, it might not be anywhere close to your travel team. But you got your, like you said, you got your boys, and it was the same way when I played football way back when, and all these sports are the same, man, because everybody's on a club or travel team. And so yeah, it's supposed to be. And regardless of travel and high school, you were rated as the 75th best shortstop nationally and the second best shortstop in North Carolina by a perfect game. So clearly, regardless of your options, you were able to showcase your talent and get seen. Um, so when did you start getting recruited? Like, I mean, and what I mean by that is like, when did you start actually getting that first phone call from a coach that was interested?
yeah. So the summer going into my ninth grade year, actually I guess it was first couple weeks of school in my ninth grade year. I went to three camps back to back to back on those weekends. So I went to the Duke camp first, and I actually got a phone call from Coach Jordan, who I guess is actually at LSU now. But he called me. That was my first official phone call, and that was before I went to that camp. So really early ninth grade, and then I went to ECU, the second camp the next weekend, and then Coach Palumbo, they started recruiting me then, and then I went to Coastal Carolina the third weekend, and then but after I went to ECU, man, I was like, this place is home. Both of my parents went here, but I mean, I love everything about it, and I just loved it ever since I went to camp here. So, I committed November 12th of 2018, which is my ninth grade year. But ECU was my first, I guess, official offer. At other places that were about to pull the trigger and that were really heavily on me. But as soon as ECU offered me, I was like, this is the place I want to be. Why wait and
Right.
keep playing the
Well, let me
process?
let me ask you, regardless if you would have chose there, you talked about when you selected. Do you, most guys we've talked to, even if they wouldn't have chosen or changed where they chose, they like the new rule just because it gives them a chance to think about it more. Obviously, get older, see who all pursues them, and then there's obviously a lot of guys who got better, and so they would wish they would have waited. So how much do you love the new rule that guys can't choose like as early as you did?
Right. I'm a fan of it. I know I got committed really early, but I'm a fan of it just because I've seen a lot of guys get recruited really early on in the process, and then they don't turn out to what they should be. and then I see on the other end of the
On the
spectrum
other end all the time.
where guys are really bad at a young age, or not bad, but they're not matured, and where some
I'll
guys
give
are
you a
older.
perfect example on this show that floored everybody. Ben Joyce couldn't get more than one community college offer.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And then
perfect
by senior
example.
year, after he didn't have to, by senior year, he was offered by a ton, but because he's a loyal guy, he stuck with the only school that, entertained him for 2 years. And I actually appreciate that. And obviously it worked out for him. But, you see Ben Joyce and you think that guy played community college, like for real.
Yeah, for real. I mean, that's how it is. But yeah, so I like the fact that they were actually going to have to wait the process out a little bit longer, and because I mean, you see a lot of the Ben Joyces out there where they're studs their senior year, but I mean, they just get recruited late because I mean, the way college baseball was going was if you're not committed by ninth and 10th grade, then you kind of miss the ship a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
but now where they backed it up till was it junior year?
Mm-hmm.
I think that will help out a lot on really both in those spectrum.
Yeah, and I just like the maturity of when you make that decision because regardless of, like you said, you want to go to ECU and you know that and everything, but they're still asking a 14-year-old kid to make a life decision.
Yeah, I
And
know.
and to me that's too early. And then while I'm thinking about it, just because I didn't expect you to bring up Coach Jordan. So funny story from a few weeks ago, practices weren't open yet, but I was given access. And so I was recording and he comes over there and goes, just to remind you, you can't release that video on Twitter because I know you will. And I was like, I know. It's like, golly, I probably is going to too. I'm supposed to. It just depends on what happened. I wasn't going to do anything bad, but I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
at the time in which he said it, Tommy White was taking his first session of the year. If he would have hit a nuke, it probably would have found its way. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a great dude. I mean, I like Duke a lot, but that price kind of turned me off there. I was like, hey, I kind of want my sisters to go to school too.
Well, at least I know you could have went there when it comes to academics because that's the thing. You also got to be smart, but obviously saw that you took care of business in the classroom, still are at
Definitely.
ECU. So shout out to you for obviously not just caring about your athletics, but academics because that's important.
100%.
So, you talk about why ECU. I wanted to put this note out there. How much, or let me ask this question first. How much did you get to go to games coming up?
Uh, I would say, I mean, not too much. We went to a bunch of football games as a kid, but I kind of hit a little dry patch there. I guess once school started and me and my sisters got a little bit busier, and then with travel ball, I mean, you were busy every weekend, so not too much. But once I committed, we were up here a good bit watching baseball games and football games. But
Yeah, the reason I ask is because I have, and I got Founders and ECU on the list this year, but they're the two schools. I want to experience the jungle. That and Founders, I want to
yeah.
experience them. And I asked that for you because growing up, I imagine it was everything because I mean it's got a reputation
Yeah.
nationwide.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those people, those fans out there are absolutely amazing. They give us a huge, huge home field advantage. Arguably one of the best in college baseball. And uh, I mean, it's a special experience. Me and my sister actually went to the Super Regional game one against Texas, and we ended up winning that game. But it was a back and forth game for a while, and then we ended up just unloading on them and it was so cool. I mean, I think that game, I think one of the Texas outfitters was going to catch a fly ball like pretty deep on the warning track, and he ended up like bouncing the ball over the
Mm.
wall. And those guys in the out or in the jungle were absolutely letting that guy hear everything. And
Got
it's
to,
just
got
a
to.
cool experience for sure.
You just got to ask for forgiveness afterward, but in the moment, you got to do what you got to do.
That's right. I think it's actually pretty funny because in like our hype video now that I guess we show at banquets and all the recruits and stuff, like they have a little recording from the Texas game and I'm over the fence like doing horns down and like it was pretty funny.
I'm not gonna get into it, but it's absolutely wild how people get in trouble for doing horns down. I don't even get it. It's
Yeah,
soft. If they're gonna come to the SEC, that's gotta go.
oh, 100%. The fans in SEC are pretty unreal too.
Absolutely. So man, let's get into it. Your story, obviously, before you even get a chance to play at ECU. Let me ask you, before the accident, is like outdoor sports something that you do, normally, or was this like a first time type of deal?
I would say it's a pretty typical thing. I grew up pretty close to the lakes and stuff, and my dad had a boat growing up and all that stuff. So we go to the river a good bit and the lake, and we'd go tubing and water skiing and having a really good
So
time.
going into this isn't like something that, you expect to happen. You're comfortable going out there
Oh
is
yeah, definitely,
ask.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, growing up, I went all the time, as especially with my dad and stuff. So I mean, being close to lakes, that's kind of what everybody did.
Yeah. So as far as this next part, man, I want you to feel comfortable how much you share, how you share it. But for those who don't know, like, talking about what happened that day.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so that was a Saturday. So basically in the summer going into your freshman year at East Carolina, the baseball players report pretty early that summer. And just to get used to the program and school here and just get really accommodated to everything. So we're here for summer school, and summers here are really honestly really boring because kids aren't here. It's a college town, so the whole college or the whole town's kind of a little bit more dead and relaxed. So I think it was the last weekend, July 22nd. I think we were going back home like the 29th or 27th, somewhere around there. But so we were like, one of our teammates had a river house probably around 40 minutes from Greenville, and he was actually a late commit, which like we were talking about earlier, you get committed really early, and we were in summer school, and we heard that we had got a new commit, and we're like in our class, and we're like, yeah, so we're like, okay, this is kind of weird. So he comes and he says he's going to be the bullpen catcher, which it's pretty selfless being a bullpen catcher. I mean, it's a lot of work just not to get any playing time. And so he comes and is like, hey, my grandparents have a river house like 40 minutes from Greenville. Like, we should go one weekend. So everybody's like, kind of like, yeah, man, for sure. Like, we'll find time. Well, it was the last weekend. We're like, why not? I mean, there's nothing to do here. Might as well. So that Friday, we had early morning 300 at like 5 a.m. And so we went, did those, worked out, got our hitting in, did everything we needed to do. Went back, took a little short nap, and got all of our stuff together and went to Bath, which is where the river house is. And so that Friday, we had a good time. We had a great time that night. Cooked and did all fun activities and stuff. And then um, that Saturday morning, I was actually supposed to take one of the guys back to Greenville because he was supposed to help an elderly couple move some furniture. And he got a text that morning saying, "Hey Miles, thanks for volunteering, but we got some other help and we don't really need yours anymore." So we're all like, "Hey, that's cool. Let's go back on the tube and on the boat and have a great time like we did yesterday." So we got everything together, had some lunch, and then got back out on the tube, and then me and a guy named Dixon Williams, who is still here. He's in my grade, and he's actually from Greenville. We got on the tube first that day, and the driver was driving pretty normal, and me and Dixon ended up falling off the tube. Well, right, that's pretty fun. Let's go back on it. So we're like, okay, and the driver's like, "Hey, I'm gonna drive a little bit more crazy this time." We're like, "All right, that's fine. I mean, try to throw us off. That's pretty cool." So he's driving pretty crazy, more determined really just throw us off. And Dixon skids off the tube onto into the water, and then the driver kind of whipped the boat the other way, which ended up allowing the tube to hit a wake, and I flew way up in the air with the tube. And one thing about me is I'm absolutely terrified of heights, so I just let go, and I hit the water really hard. So I was like, all right, man, I have to get back to this boat. So I was swimming back to the boat, and I was kind of using the rope from the tube to kind of just guide myself back into the boat. And as I got around 10 yards, 10-ish yards from the boat, all of a sudden I looked up, and the boat's coming towards me. And as soon as I realized that, the rope from the tube got caught into the propeller and basically ended up like pulling me under the boat. So the propeller hit both of my legs and my left hand. uh, just because I pushed off the propeller with my hand, and the motor stopped as after they hit everything. And as soon as I pushed off, the Miles, the guy who I was supposed to take back home, jumped in immediately, and he had realized what happened. So he helped pull me back onto the boat, and then they tied tourniquets around my legs with their t-shirts as best they could. And then my girlfriend at the time, she called 911 and was getting all that situated as another guy was waving down boats. Well, then the first boat stopped, and they were like, they addressed the situation to the boat, and the boat's like, sorry, we can't really help, but here's a first aid kit. And they're like, this isn't going to help at all. So they're like, why can't you guys help? And they're like, oh, well, we have kids on the boat. We don't want to expose them to this bloody scene. So they're like, that's crazy. So they continued to wave down boats, and the second boat stopped. And on that boat was two couples. And the only reason they were going back in was because one of the couples had gotten into an argument. And they're like, hey, can you take me back to the marina? We just kind of want to go home for today and just call it a day. So on the way back in, they saw our boat. They stopped. They're like, of course we'll help. And then so they transported me onto that boat where there was actually a nurse that was one of the ladies was a nurse, so she tied her tourniquets around my legs as they transported me to the marina there, where the ambulance was waiting on me, and then the ambulance transported me to the local hospital where there was a helicopter waiting on me, which then they airlifted me from there to ECU Health. Wing.
So, I mean, it sounds like, you know, this was a long process, right?
Yeah.
And I gotta ask, like you talk about it now, but in real time, I mean, just how scared were you?
I mean, it was weird because I had a lot of emotions. I just kept telling myself like, stay awake, because I knew that if I would passed out or fell asleep, that I don't know if I'd have waken back up. So I would continue just to remind myself, hey, stay awake. And I really didn't want to look at my legs just because I saw the people's reactions and I knew that it was pretty bad. And so I just sat there and played with my hand, and I was like, dang, my hand's messed up. But I didn't know how severe my legs were. So I was getting transported from boat to boat to the ambulance to the helicopter, and then kind of had this really weird experience on the helicopter where I was sitting there, I was laying on the helicopter, and the first thing the nurse asked me was, hey baby, are you a Jehovah Witness? And I was like, that's a really weird
What?
question to ask right now. I was like, no, ma'am, I'm not. And she's like, okay. And at the time I was really confused, but with my parents having such a medical background, they told me that Jehovah Witnesses can't give blood products or anything, receive blood products from anybody.
Mm,
So that's their way of asking, can I receive blood?
gotcha. It's
So
still been weird in the time you're
yeah,
trying to
definitely.
focus on what's going on, and you get asked that. Like, okay.
Yeah, so I'm sitting there, laying there, and just kind of listening to the nurses talk on the helicopter, and then I had this really weird out of body experience where I was laying there, but I kind of rose out of my body, and I could see myself laying on the operating table, and I saw the people operating on me, and so like I was definitely heading up to heaven for sure.
Man, that's crazy. Like I can't even imagine it. And I've heard this story just recently in regards to I don't know if you saw what I tagged you in today. We got an event Saturday, KD Hill from the Ole Miss
Yeah.
football team, and
Actually, I recently got in contact with him. I saw him through Instagram, I think, and I saw how he was an Ole Miss football player and NFL hopes and dreams, and how he was kind of on that path, and how I think he got in a car accident, right?
yeah, he got in a car accident. He was and that's the thing that stuck out to me when you were talking about how long it was. It took 5 hours before they,
Yeah,
got him
that's
taken
what
care of.
that's what he told me. Yeah, so I reached out to him on Instagram, which was kind of honestly really rare for me to do. Um, but I saw where he was kind of in the same place I was, where he had a lot of talent, a lot of hopes and dreams, and kind of how he got his leg amputated. So I reached out. I was like, "Hey, my name's Parker Byrd. Like this is what happened to me." I was like, "I'm sorry where what happened to you. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like it's pretty tough." I was like, "Mine's." a little bit like further along than you are. So like if you have any questions or like if
And
you
he told
need
me today you inspire him. And what's crazy is right now he's inspiring this whole area, and then you inspire him. And so it's cool to see. It's kind of like an iron sharpens iron thing. Y'all are a brotherhood of guys who are going something that we don't understand. And y'all
right.
are able to encourage each other. So it's cool to see that. And man, yeah, he's been putting these workout videos. And so I see what you're doing to become the first D1 baseball player with the Prosthetic leg. I see what he's doing, and I'm like, that's wild because um I picture myself in y'all scenario, and I think about folding, man. Like, all right, man, why does God hate me type deal, right? Like,
Right.
because
Yeah.
just like you said, y'all are so similar. You're starting into your college baseball playing. He had just signed an XFL contract. Like, y'all are both starting a significant thing, and then you get your leg amputated, and it's like, why? But both of y'all have not chosen that way, right? Like, y'all haven't balled up and went to the corner at all. Like, you're dead set on this, he's dead set on that. And so I got to ask you, because I've talked to him, I've never talked to you. So how do you get that motivation? What is it that inspires you every day to say, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, I've always tell people it's really just my support system. Starting with my family to the community here in Greenville, the community back home in Laurinburg. Like, I mean, I've had a tremendous support system like throughout it all. But I think it's really just the way I was raised. Just really faith-based family that just put all their trust in God. And I mean, this is just another obstacle to go through. But I think I was telling him, but I was also telling this other amputee girl that I know that kind of struggles a little bit more with the mental side. I was like, hey, God allowed this to happen for us, not to us. And she's like, I never really looked at it like that. I was like, hey, you just kind of have to change your mindset and your perspective to like kind of instead of the poor me, like why not me, really?
Yeah, no doubt. By chance, man, I'm gonna throw like a curveball of where you said you're a baseball guy. Have you ever seen Big Brother and know who Matt Klotz is?
I do not know, sir.
Okay, he finished second, and anyway, he started messaging me. I told him in the middle of the interview, and he said who, and I sent him the thing, and he's inspired. And this is a guy, and the reason I bring it up to you is, he is an 8-time gold medal winner in the deaf, or I don't know how it works. He's deaf though, but he's Olympian,
Yeah, yeah,
for LSU swimmer, and so another guy who didn't let adversity get in his way and challenge it so much so that he's now was just on Big Brother reality TV show, finished second, and he actually had to he struggled in it because he struggled to hear what people were saying because he's still, he's gotten the surgery and the hearing aids and everything, but still can't hear everything. And in a game that's like social and people are like talking behind your
yeah,
back, like he can't hear them. So it's kind of crazy, man. Like all you guys are like, man, y'all are inspirations. And the thing about you that I think about, because you go back to the start of the show, we're talking about your sisters, right? And they have now learned from their big brother, to not let anything stop you from, accomplishing your dreams in life. Like, right? Like they saw you get the biggest hang up you could possibly get, and yet here you are going to do what you set out to do. And so not only are you inspiring people around the country, I know based upon what you're saying, you're a family guy. So that's cool that your sisters right now are watching you do this. And so I got to ask, as you're doing, ECU baseball, like how hard was it? Like obviously, you're putting in the work, but when you got out there, like the adjustment, I mean, I could just only imagine just how hard was it for you?
yeah. So, it was definitely a progress to get there. I mean, there's just little things like along the way. I guess I started as soon as I got out of the hospital. I was on the recovery and the road to get back. So I started off really just sitting there watching a ball go by in a wheelchair, and then I progressed to a walker, and I was hitting with a walker, and then crutches, and then I ended up getting my prosthetic, and I was kind of not really using my lower half at all, just swinging with my upper body. And then I got the grant from Challenge Athletes Foundation to get that prosthetic leg, in which allowed me to really my recovery just exponentially grow. And from then on out, I started doing a scissor motion in my swing. So I don't have a back ankle, I had to accommodate by doing the scissor motion, which is actually a natural movement, but people just kind of get taught out of it now. So just adjustments like that have been really key to getting back. And then uh, so I figured out the hitting part first, and then after that, it was like, okay, we need to get me moving again, get me more mobile, and then so I started running a good bit, and then just doing a lot of lateral movements, which was really I plateaued for a while because the lateral movements were definitely by far the hardest thing to learn and do. And then honestly, just being back out there with the guys has helped me out so much just because that natural competitiveness where you want to fit in and you want to play to the level they are. So really just being back out there, my fielding has improved so much.
So
And
when you talk about let me cut in for a second. When you talk about the hitting and then you start talking about the lateral movement, I imagine right now that your core strength has to be, on point right now because I feel like that's the key, right?
yeah, definitely. I mean, that's where all the balance comes from. And really, I guess from hitting so much that you use that core really with every swing. So it's definitely been built up for a
You
while.
better
And
have a six pack, my guy. They're like for real.
yeah, I know, right? It's hidden under some dad bod, but besides that,
So how I've seen the pictures. I haven't actually just seen like actual footage. I don't know if it's out there or not, but I saw the pictures of you in the box and you on the field, just you say you're getting it, you're getting better. Like how are you in regards to, this upcoming season? How are you looking, how are you feeling?
yeah. So my role this year will just be more of the pitch hit role. Get in when I can, which is totally fine with me. Me and Coach Godwin had a conversation the other day. He's like, hey, you can redshirt this year and have an extra year here, which that would be I guess my 6th year, which is kind of crazy. And or you could get 5 to 10 at bats this year to see how that goes. And so I was like, hey, coach, I want to play. I believe in myself enough where I know that if I get 5 to 10 at bats, that I know I'm gonna produce and I may be the guy to go to off the bench, which is totally fine with me. I mean, but as each year goes on, I hope to increase that role and obviously end up starting. But whatever's best for a team, man, I'm all for it.
Yeah, no doubt. And what would be the best way to go about it? Do the Tim Elko way about it. Like, just hit bombs and then when he had a torn ACL, that way you don't have to worry about having the blazing speed.
That's right. Yeah, that's why I tell people all the time. If you hit over the fence, they don't care how fast you run.
No, I will ask that though, like on the speed, like that's one of the things I'd like to see a video. I mean, are you getting around pretty
Yeah,
good?
yeah. So the past 2 to 3 months have once I said like things. It's weird in the recovery process with this. Like you see things like grow really fast and then they plateau out for a little bit and then they grow really fast again. But so it's kind of right before I guess winter break for us. Like I was like, hey, if I want to get onto the field this year, like I'm gonna have to move a lot better than what I'm doing right now. So I started running with a local guy here. He owns the facility back here, but his name is Trent Britt, and I run with him twice a week, and just we do one day of lateral movements. So basically, just like I said, like the quickness, agility, back and forth, and then one day of acceleration, deceleration. Because once I get up the speed, I'm fine, but it's really like the first 10 yards that I was struggling with for a while, and then so I was like, hey, I need to work on this really, really hard over this break. So I did, and then once we got back, I continued to work with them. So over the past 2 to 3 months, man, that's just really just blown through the roof. And I mean, it's not exactly where I want it to be yet, but it's 100% getting there, and we're definitely getting back to what it was.
Yeah, no doubt. And the speed thing, the reason I asked it, I saw that the Olympian who that has two of them, two amputated legs, right? And I
Yeah.
mean he's absolutely flying. Like as a matter of fact, he's so fast now they're accusing him of like roids and stuff. It's like, dang, you can't just let this man have his moment.
Yeah, no, they I think they accused him of like cheating because they said that like the prosthetics were helping them or something like
Like,
that,
man, I
which
couldn't imagine somebody tell me I'm a cheater when I got two prosthetic legs on.
I know that's people ask me that question actually a lot more than you think. Like, has NCAA released something where like they're saying that's a cheat code? I'm like, I'm setting the groundwork for this. I'm
It's
like,
not like you got a bionic arm and hitting tanks out the park, bro. Like,
exactly. It's not like I can set a mode to where like I know that I'm gonna hit a home run if I make contact. Like it's, I promise you, if anybody's wondering, I guarantee you it's a disadvantage if anything.
yeah, no doubt. So I know this episode's getting long and we hadn't even played our game yet, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about your team because you're the first ECU guest we've had this season. Talk to me about the team. You don't got to take all day. Give me the rundown of the whole team, but just give me a couple guys on the bump that have looked extremely well to you, and then a couple hitters that you think will really stand out.
Yeah. So I mean, we have Trey Savage, who is a first rounder this year, hopefully. I mean, he's a dude. He was a dude last year. He was a dude his freshman year, but he goes out there and
The dude
dominates.
coming out the womb, it sounds like.
He really is. I mean, I think he's actually young for his age, which really helps for his draft stock. But he's a dog. But then our other guy, our the other dude on the bump, his name's Zach Root. He's a sophomore, and he's from Florida, and he's a dude as well. He was actually committed to Florida, and
He got smart.
yeah, and then he got smart and became a pirate. So, but he's a left-hand pitcher. His stuff's absolutely nasty. I mean, moves all sorts of ways, and so those two guys are going to be pretty big staples at the 1-2 spot this year. I mean, they're going to be pretty consistent and be who they are. And then our lineup, man. I mean, top to bottom, we're pretty much stacked. I mean, we have really 12 starters, which is a good problem to have. But I mean, you have your typical guys. I mean, we have at second base, we have a guy named Jacob Starlin, who I think is probably the most underrated player in the nation just because, like, he gets no love on preseason rankings, not even in the conference. But the dude goes out there and absolutely rakes every year. And then we have Jacob Jenkins Cowart in right field, who had a phenomenal freshman year. I think it was freshman All American, and had a good year last year too. But has very high expectations this year, and hopefully he can power that lineup. And but I mean, we got dudes in really every spot, and then we have we're not a big transfer team, so you're not going to see us having 10 transfers like some other schools, but we do
Don't
have a
talk about
couple.
my team.
I'm sorry. That's exactly what I'm
That's
talking
exactly what you were
about.
doing.
I was. It's all right, but but yes, so we have this transfer named Chaz Myers in the infield that he's a very versatile guy, and then we have a guy named Dixon Williams at third that just I mean those guys all can just absolutely rake.
Yeah, and I got y'all ranked at 15. Obviously, I wanted you to do that for those who maybe don't know ECU as well, so they could have some guys to look for. But I know that y'all are a perennial contender, no doubt. I get to see you guys because I talked about Memphis just being rock throwing distance. Y'all come there for a series
Oh,
this
yeah,
year,
that's right,
so
dude.
I look forward to it because Memphis, they're not ECU, but they're an up and coming baseball team simply
Yeah,
because they've gotten smart. We talk about doing things a certain way. So they are going and getting guys in the transfer portal from Mississippi State, Ole Miss, even South Carolina. All the SEC schools, guys that aren't getting playing time and bringing them in. So you think about it, you're getting SEC caliber dudes bringing them into the AAC. So really, really smart job. They got a brand new field that you're gonna get to go out there and be on. So like I said, that's not the environment's nothing like your stadium. It's not like the jungle. And they're not a perennial contender, but they're gonna be not the Memphis of old. I think they got some dudes themselves. So I look for a
and
good
they're
series.
always a team that's hard to beat, man. They're scrappy, and I mean you'll look up and the score is only 4-3, and you're like, we should be killing these guys, but I mean they're good. I mean, there's hats off to them.
The guy I'll tell you to remember, and we'll see how it pans out. And I'm not just rooting him to wreck your pitching staff, but Jacob Compton, basically he came on here and talked about it. South Carolina wanted him, or he was there, but he ended up coming back to Memphis because they couldn't offer him any scholarship money, and Memphis was offering him a full ride. So obviously good enough to play. As a matter of fact, he was the starter in front of Ethan Petrie. May not even be Ethan Petrie if he doesn't leave. This is a crazy story because I talked to Ethan about it afterward. Ethan's my first pick in our Survivor draft pool, and he talks to me about it. He had a terrible fall last season, and Jacob was in front of him. And so it's crazy to think that the guy that was the second best freshman in the country, looked terrible at fall, and there was a guy in front of him, and now he's at Memphis. Like,
Yeah,
so,
for real. That is wild. I mean, they played smart by getting those bounce backs like that, and hopefully we'll have a good series against them.
yeah, don't come in here and wreck it, and it'd be no fun. All right, like y'all
Man,
take it
we might.
easy, man. I'm from there.
I'm sorry, no hometown discount for you.
There you go. But let's play the game we always play. It's called This or That. It's pretty simple. You get two options. You choose one or the other. Can't say neither. Can't say both. Are you down to play?
Let's do it.
All right. It is brought to you by Chinook Seedery. 8 flavors, mild to wild, the best in the game. Have you had them?
I have not, no sir.
Okay, well, that's going to be okay because I'm setting you up to be the ambassador for ECU. You're going to get 2 boxes of all those flavors. And what you're going to do is you're going to try them individually. And I'm going to tell you the best combos that we try on the show. I'm going to recommend the Smoking Toast, the Bougie Cowboy, probably the Speedy Gonzalez. You're going to love them.
Sweet. Heck yeah.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
So here we go. Chicken or beef tacos?
Let's go chicken.
Liquid or bar soap?
Liquid.
Did you know liquid soap don't even clean but 50% of your hands when you use it?
Really? I did
No,
not.
no, I just said that. I say that
I
to
was
every
gonna
guest as
say,
soon bites.
I did not. You teaching me something on here.
No, me, I do that because Vance Honeycutt, Big Bar, and I've been doing that ever since because me and him were talking about how it feels like liquid soap doesn't clean your whole hands.
Yeah, well, that's funny because I'm typically a liquid soap guy just because it's easier. But my mom got me a bunch of bar soap for Christmas, so I've at my house I've been doing a bunch of bar soap, which is kind of
You got
weird.
that men fragrance stuff that you get from the
Yeah,
sports stores. Yeah, I got that for Christmas
yeah.
too. I think that's like the go-to Christmas stocking stuffer now.
That's stocking stuff right there. Yeah, that's exactly what it was too.
There you go. All right. So, man, this was a tough for me. I was looking at the pictures before I put this question on there. The black uniforms or the powder purple uniforms?
Oh, that's a good one. Ah, dude, I'm gonna go with the black. I love our powder purple, and I really like how we're doing it and how we have them now. But those black uniforms to me are so sick, and
I love black and I love purple on black. And
yeah, I think that's
because
what it
we're
is.
never going to do it at LSU. We're a traditional school. We're not going to ever do alternate. So I have to enjoy ECU uniforms because that's as close as I'm going to get to purple and black.
Yeah, I mean, I love, like I said, I love our powder ones, but that black is probably my favorite jersey we have for sure.
All right. Would you rather be lost in a jungle or trapped in a haunted house?
Lawson Jungle. I'm gonna go Lawson Jungle just because I have freedom.
You got freedom to get caught up by a tiger or a giant python or all the
So
things that are in the
see,
jungle.
this is the thing, man. I know there's spiders in the jungle, but in the haunted house, there's a lot of spiders, and I am terrified of spiders.
I
So
I am too, and I'm gonna tell you, man. I don't. That's why I won't go to Australia. We've had 3 Australian guests on here, and they're out year round. They tell me I'm good, bro.
that's exactly my mom knows I'm absolutely petrified of spiders, and she'll send me TikToks all the time of like Australian spiders, and it's
Hmm.
to me that's one of my biggest fear. Heights and spiders will
Yeah, no.
all
Spider. My 6th grade teacher brought in her tarantula for people to touch, and I was in the back of the classroom, like as far as I could get against the wall. Like I'm good.
yeah trying transferred classes there.
There you go. All right. What's better, a costume party or a pool party?
Pool party.
All right. I've added the second question to this because ever since Josh Hartle came on here and said that the Wake Forest guys were Teletubbies, which is just beyond interesting to me, I got to know if you went to a costume party tomorrow, what would you be?
That's great. Tomorrow, I probably won't have a lot of time to prepare for that, but with having one leg, you can get really creative with costumes. You can go Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump.
Oh, yeah.
You could go to Leg Lamp from what's that Christmas story? Isn't that
Yeah.
what it is?
But you have me at Lieutenant Dan. That's awesome right there.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, you could be a flamingo. You could be a foosball player. Like I've seen a bunch that are like absolutely
That one's
amazing.
funny.
Yeah,
Dude, that's how you embrace what you got going on right there. Like having fun with it. That's next level.
I mean, I was this person sent me a Instagram reel or whatever that this one guy did that had one leg, but he went I guess every year he goes all out in like a funny costume having one leg, and like he had IHOP sign one year, which I wish I could get an NIL deal with IHOP. That'd be perfect. But it'd be funny.
Now, we actually Trey Richardson got one after he was on here because he credited his 3 home runs against Arkansas in the regionals to the breakfast that he had at IHOP, and they heard about it, and so it actually can happen. You never know, man. We'll tell. We don't have
Yeah,
any connections, but if they hear it, yeah, go ahead and
I,
tell them what you think.
hey, IHOP, I love your breakfast, and I play great afterwards.
There you go. You want to start making it happen? Hey, we do have the credit of being able to. I tell people all the time, man. I've set up 650 NIL deals, and I'm not an agent. And they say, "How do you do it?" I said, "I don't actually do it." And I say, and what I mean by that is, people contact me after they hear the show, and then I just get them in contact with athletes. So I'm basically a steward of it. You said you're a man of faith. This is what God's provided us with, right? And I connect that. And so what I mean is, it's y'all. Y'all put yourself out there, and then people hear it. And so that's why I like building this platform, and it's the beauty of it. You get to spotlight yourself. And so, hey, if IHOP wants to have a guy who's overcame adversity and eats their breakfast, you know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
I'm all here for it.
There you go. All right. Private yacht or private jet?
Mm, I'm gonna go with jet just because you can get places faster.
You know, I didn't ask this earlier, but do you have any kind of like fear of going on boats now?
No, I don't. I go tubing still all the time. I know that.
Really? Really?
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
I love it.
God. I
I love
would, I don't know, man. Dang. That's scarier than spiders to me now.
it. Yeah, no, I love it, man. I mean, I know that it wasn't the
Just
boat.
shows it was a freak accident, right?
Yeah, I
It's not
mean,
something that just happens every
yeah,
time.
exactly. That's why people are terrified going on planes. I'm like, dude, have more of a chance to get in a car accident than plane. Like, come on.
No doubt. All right. So last one. This is literally the money question. Would you rather be the number one overall pick and what is Paul Skeens got almost $10 million, or
Mhm.
would you rather win a national championship?
I'm gonna go with a natty. I'm a ring guy. I feel like anybody can make their way up to the bigs if they put the work in. But I mean, especially here at ECU, man. I mean, these fans are itching to go to Omaha, but much less to win a national championship. So,
Yeah,
as
I would love to see you guys at Omaha, and I can only imagine what your fan base. I've been there the last 3 years, covered it, and you
yeah,
see all the fan bases, and I think the ECU fans, they may not have as many as LSU, and I get that, but like I would see a lot of dedicated fans, and I'm all about that.
you definitely see a lot of purple gold there, especially if you guys are there.
Oh
Thank
man, that would be wild. They would have to come up with a creation of new shots, which I'm sure people are all for. I will
I
say this in regards to
I
your.
saw I saw a tweet the other day that I think actually Patrick Jungwood did. The guy named Jared Plummer, where's the he runs that account, but uh I think somebody's talking about the was it the Jello shots they do, or is it
Mhm.
just at that bar or whatever? And I think they had the LSU like predicting to win it again this year. And I think he replied back like, "You guys don't want to see the Pirates get to Omaha because if so,
Well, last year, basically LSU, because what Rocco's owner did, and I got to talk to him, it's awesome, right? So he does it this first year. Mississippi State wins that, not just the national championship, but creates it. And at that time, they used like these pre-made nasty Jello shots. Well, then the
yeah,
next year, he then embraces the competition, and then also adds in the local food banks to match. 50% of that goes to the food banks of the school that the shots are going to. Well, then the next year, I get there and this whole new bar where they create the Jello shots, and it's all these different flavors, and they're not crap tasting anymore. They're legit, and the Jello
yeah,
tastes really good. And then the 50%. So each year he gets better and better. But I'm gonna tell you, man. So LSU sold like 80,000 shots, like no exaggeration, but the amount of people buying pizza there, because their pizza is actually fire. It's Rocco's Pizza. And then the amount of just other drinks,
yeah.
dude, they make enough in that. 11, 12-day stretch, I bet, to cover bills for the whole year. It's
I
crazy.
bet, dude. That's wild.
And
That's
so
crazy.
shout out to that guy, man. He just
Yeah.
he came up with the best thing, a competition inside a competition, right? Like,
Yeah. This, the fan base, it's a fan base competition. You might not be able to win the actual thing because your team may not perform, but hey,
well,
you
that's
can
why the team that wins the national championship wins the Jello shot competition every year. Because, for instance,
just stick it out,
2022,
right?
right? Arkansas
Yeah.
was in front of Ole Miss, and then Ole Miss knocked them off in baseball, and then Ole Miss ran away with it. So I think Arkansas would have actually won that. Their fans left, so
Yeah, yeah, facts.
But
That's
I
fair.
will say this to wrap up the question I asked you. I used to argue money, and then two things happened. First, Paul Skeens came on here, and told me, we had him the first time, and then second time he said, and this is after he was the number one pick. He said he would give the money back and the pick. He would never trade in the memories that he got from this past season. So I had a guy who actually was the first pick tell me that he would
And
give
win
it
the
back.
national
So I
championship.
can't argue that. And then Trey Lipscomb, from formerly of
Yeah,
Tennessee with the
champions, right?
Nationals,
Yeah.
he flipped it on me because it's the second time I asked him, because he was a previous guest too. And I formatted it in a different way. He said, "You know what? Let me ask you." He goes, "Would you take the podcast or $10 million?" I said, $10 million. He goes, "No, no, no, no." He said, "Think about it. We tell you about the memories, the run with it." He goes, "I've watched you and your son the last 3 years. You've been to Omaha, you've been to all these different cities, games, the memories you've made, all the friends you've made, the players you've talked to. You give all that back for $10 million." I was like, you know what, Trey? That's why I asked the questions, man. That ain't fair. Because
Yeah.
I'm not trading 3 years of memories
Yeah,
with my
flip it on
son.
me.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think most people are gonna take, it's not even, you said you're about to read it, it's not even the hardware, it's just everything that's gonna come with that run.
Yeah, for sure, dude. It's gonna be great.
Well, before I let you go, man, opportunity. I know you already plugged the commercial, but anything else you want to plug or promote?
Uh Really just ECU, man. The fans here, just community, just everybody here is just phenomenal. Just really appreciate all the support and the fans that I mean, really throughout the whole nation, really, not just ECU, but everybody's been on my side and has been pulling for me. I just really appreciate everybody.
Yeah, and I think after your commercial runs during the Super Bowl and people see that, I think you're going to inspire a ton more people. And I'm hoping through that, also, businesses, we joke about the IHOP, but especially if you get out there on that field and you end up doing your thing, people will want to be behind you and put their brand with you, because I would, because it shows that you're a winner. But if y'all want to follow Parker on IG, it's Parker Byrd, add an extra D, or like he said, ECU_baseball. I tell you what, man, y'all's creative team, whether it's the graphics or the videos, they are top notch. So if you're not familiar with ECU baseball, you're doing it wrong. Follow them on Instagram or Twitter. They're next level. But Parker, man, I thank you for coming on here and sharing your story, and I wish you nothing but best of luck in this upcoming season.
Hey man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on here, man. It's perfect
Absolutely.
timing. My computer's on 1%.
All right, that's Parker Byrd, everybody. If you like hearing
You
his
guys.
story, or you just like hearing average Joes talk X's and O's, please like and share the podcast on Facebook, retweet us on Twitter, listen and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and Anchor. As always, ratings, comment, hugs, loves, feedback, all that good stuff is welcome. We will see everyone back Monday night. Daniel will be back for episode 24 with nasty Nate Ackenhausen of LSU Baseball. But in the meantime, remember, strong bodies, sharp minds, grit and grind all the time. We are out.
Yes, sir.